The Metropolitan School District of Washington Township School Board meeting for Wednesday, February 26th. Let the record show that all 5 board members are present. So I would like to start our meeting as we always do with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Sorry, just a second here. So first item on the agenda for this evening is the school spotlight, which happens to be Spring Mill Elementary.
Okay, I see it. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
I may not be the most techie. Good evening, school board. Good evening, Dr. Woodson and Spring Mill family. We're so glad you're here to celebrate all the amazing things that are happening in our school space. We have so much to be proud of as a school community, and a testament to that is the people who showed up here tonight. So we are very grateful for this opportunity. We want to talk about our points of pride. When we look at it from a staff perspective, we continue to have amazing growth within our teachers and within our learning community as a whole. We have become our own professional development in-house site. And we love that, for, not just for our students, but also for the adults in the space. We are constantly growing and learning and pushing ourselves. And that has set us up to be able to showcase our school as a model site, because we are a real school, and to be able to showcase the learning and practices that are happening every day. And that is something that is unique to us, and it's something that we love to celebrate, because it's a wonderful thing that's happening for our school and our school space. Another thing that we're super proud of is that we have this amazing partnership with who we call them our family, the Get Your Teach On. Well, let's give it up for Get Your Teach On. That's right. So we call them GYTO, but that stands for Get Your Teach On, an amazing organization that is all about helping educators transform education and reset the space in a way that it just is celebratory of the humans that are in the space, but also the learning and the engagement that can happen within that space. And that all comes together to create a very inspirational environment for every human being. And we are excited that we have this partnership with them, and we have been able to join with them and do some work at a national level at their national conferences. And it's just a great way to showcase the work that's happening in Washington Township across the country, because we do have remarkable things happening in our space. As far as our points of pride as it relates to students, we do have a principals advisory group, and that is just a wonderful way to promote agency at the school level among our students. We're developing student leaders, and we love hearing their voice. They have lots of information and unique ideas about what we can do in our space to make it better, and we encourage that, and it's a wonderful, unique thing that we have at our building. We also have some great initiatives happening in the area of math. We have Math Masters at the Mill, which is a school-wide fact fluency program that is involved, that engages students in individual goal setting and assessment, because we know that math fluency and being fluent in math helps you, it leads you to those important skills that are required for computation and being able to solve real world problems. And so that is something that we have at every grade level. Each grade level has their unique spin on it, and we love that autonomy and individuality that each school, each grade level is taking on to celebrate math at our school as a whole. We also have the Bulldog Plan of Attack. That is a real world, I hate saying those words together, math problem solving framework that was created by our Spring Mill educators, our teachers that participate in the math cohort. One of them is here tonight. Madeline Urbanski was a part of that work. So Madeline, and also in conjunction with our amazing math coach, Robin Lawrence, she's also here. And that work was in collaboration with the amazing Dr. Ryan Flessner that we know that the district has a partnership with. As a school community, we are very happy of the fact that we are in our second year of partnership with GYTO. We are a collaboration site for the state of Indiana, and we are in our second year. We were told last year that there was going to be 1 year of the partnership. But I mean, when you're working with an amazing school, how can you not invite them back for a second year? So they found a way to have us back for the second year. And we're only one of 2 schools in the entire state that have this unique opportunity. We also, as a school community, have 53 IDLC and non-resident families that have selected Spring Mill as their home school. We continue to see a rise in the number of families that want to make this school space their school. And that is something that I've always been passionate about, making sure that the people that live in the neighborhood are choosing the neighborhood school. And we've had more and more students, more and more families select us as that option. And that is something that we want to celebrate in our space. And that's happening through strategic actions, not only from the school standpoint, but also parents that are celebrating and sharing the wonderful news of our school in their neighborhoods and community spaces. And it's the reason why I have a school tour about weekly. We are inviting people in to see our space because they want to know what's happening, because they're hearing about it in the community. And that's just a wonderful thing to celebrate, because I think that everyone should choose their neighborhood school, because that is the best choice to make, especially at the elementary level. Okay. As we talk about equitable achievement at Spring Mill, we were very excited that last year, during the 23-24 school year, that 90% of our third grade students passed the iRead3 assessment. That is just a few percentage points shy from the new state mandate of having 95% or 96% students pass. And so we're very close to that. And that's something huge to celebrate in our space. I don't know of another school besides one elementary that was higher than us that has that pass rate. And so we were super excited about that. And we're looking forward, as we get ready to take this assessment next week, to hit that mark, and hopefully we will be above that mark. And we know that if we have that intention, we can make it happen. We were one of the only schools to meet 92% of our district strategic plan goals last year. And that was the highest percentage passing rate of any Washington Township school. We are in the work of the iLearn checkpoints. And from checkpoint 1 to checkpoint 2, we're still learning how this checkpoint assessment works, but we have seen growth. We've seen in the area of reading significant growth for our male students. And then in the area of math, we've seen significant growth for our third grade multilingual students. All grade levels saw an increase in the percentage of students achieving proficiency across all operations on fact fluency assessments. We believe that's due in part to our intentionality for math fact fluency and those wonderful incentives that we have at the building level. And we are exceeding our school goal in this area of 62%. Specific areas of continued growth to obtain that equitable achievement, we are fostering an in-house professional development model. And that model is not just unique and distinct to Spring Mill, but we are inviting other schools within the district and across the state to be a part of the great work that is happening, because we know that when you focus on instruction, you get results. And that is one of the things in a school space that you do have control over. There's so many other things that we don't have control over, but we can control how we teach, the curriculum that we're given to teach, and how we make those learning experiences amazing and engaging for all students, and very intentional. We have an engagement lab now, and if you haven't been able to come over to Spring Mill, I know that the board is showing up on this coming Monday. We are so excited to show you this new innovative space within our building that is providing experiential learning opportunities to foster student engagement, deeper learning, and just this amazing opportunity to be able to go to places around the world while you are just walk down the hall from your classroom. And that's just an amazing opportunity that our school has, and with our partnership with GYTO, but it is also right in line with the work that we're trying to do to really make school an engaging atmosphere for all learners. We think that our students deserve to have the best educational opportunities, and we're so glad that we can offer that. Promising practices, we have narrowed our school-wide focus to the 5 to Thrive instructional strategies. 5 to Thrive just means that we are being intentional about the work that we're doing and ensuring that that work is happening for every student every time, every lesson every time. So we're increasing student accountability. We are ensuring that our learning targets drive instruction and improve student learning. We are ensuring that student data is tracked in the moment, because that's when it matters most, not just at those benchmarked periods, and that we have targeted differentiated instruction so we can individualize learning experiences for all students. We're utilizing motion and movement to make learning sticky for all learners, which doesn't mean sticky in terms of the real meaning of that word, but making sure that that learning holds on from lesson to lesson, and then making sure that with proximity and pacing that we are making sure that we have a sense of urgency within the building. We're not wasting time so that we can increase academic rigor. We have Spring Mill non-negotiables to ensure that every student receives the instruction that they need. We want to be very explicit about what we expect, because we know when we are explicit, then we can inspect what we expect, but we can't do that if we haven't been explicit about what those things are. And so we have Spring Mill non-negotiables that have been shared with our teaching staff. And then in addition to that, we have student, teacher, and leader profiles that clearly define the expectations for student behavior, achievement, and they outline the necessary support strategies for teachers to help students reach their goals. And this is a very important practice, because we know that if we expect things from students, then we have to make sure that we are teaching them in a way that models what we expect. And if we expect things from our teachers as leaders, we have to model those expectations by what we're doing as a leadership team with the staff that we supervise. This is just an example of what those learner profiles in our Spring Mill non-negotiables look like. If you visit our building, you can see these in our hallways. And we're really focusing on how we can be consistent every minute of every day, how as a leadership team we can be visible, because we know that our presence matters, and it matters most in those instructional moments throughout the day where we can be up close with the work that's happening in the building. And then accountability, making sure that every teacher every time is held accountable, and every teacher also includes those people who are not in traditional teaching roles, because we know that accountability is what makes the work happen. All right, and now we're going to move to our special recognitions, which we're so excited about. In the area of social justice advocate student recognition, we are recognizing tonight Eleanor McCorkle Singley. The Social Justice Advocate Student Award recognizes Washington Township youth who have demonstrated an outstanding commitment to inclusionary and justice-centered work. This award is well-deserved for Eleanor. I got to meet Eleanor when I became the principal, and she was a first grader, and she has exhibited the attributes of this award all throughout her elementary experience, and now she's a fifth grader, and although we know that she'll be leaving us soon, we are so excited to have a child in our space that is a voice for advocacy and champions that in the learning environment. So thank you, Eleanor, and thank you to her amazing parents. Check out her Spring Mill blue dress. I love it.
Last time, I think that's because
For the above and beyond parent recognition, we want to recognize tonight Kim Stratton. Kim is not only a member of our PTO, and she really heads up our teacher appreciation initiative, but she has also been very instrumental in bringing so many families back to Spring Mill Elementary. She emails me constantly, texts me about how she's shared the wonderful things that are happening at our school within her neighborhood. We've had neighborhood meetings where she's invited families over to her home, and I have joined to talk about and share the story of Spring Mill. And she has single-handedly brought up, I want to say, around 10 families back to our space. And that's amazing to have a parent that's not just a parent, but also an advocate for what's happening, not just in our school, but at public schools as a whole. So thank you, Kim. We love you.
Thank you. Great meeting you all. Thank you.
And last but not least is our supportive partnership recognition. And we are recognizing tonight the CEOs of the Get Your Teach On Corporation, and it's Hope and Wade King. Wade is going to represent his wife, Hope, as well. And then Chase is here, so Chase, you can come up as well. I cannot say enough about this partnership. We can go ahead and get them a hand. They are so deserving of this recognition. They have single-handedly, the work that they've done has transformed the work that is happening in so many schools with so many educators across the country, but specifically Spring Mill Elementary. We are happy to collaborate with them. They have grown us and stretched us, and they are just amazing, genuine people who really have the heart for teaching at the heart of their work. And we cannot say enough how much we appreciate the opportunity to work with you. So thank you.
I am, but thank you. Oh, you kidding me?
Oh my gosh.
Thank you for trusting us.
Thank you.
Well done. You're so great.
Thank you for
Thank
trusting
you.
us.
Thank you.
Just wonderful.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Amazing. That's all they talk
We're
about.
not done. We're not done.
Just getting started.
This is, we still got kids.
This is.
We always report the Spring Mill Hall.
No, you're fine. You're fine.
Bulldog smiles. Oh, that's okay. I get some. Thank you.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Thank you. Thank you, Mrs. Martin and Spring Mill. Appreciate the report today. So the spotlight's been great. Next on the agenda for items would be the superintendent's announcements. Dr. Woods.
Thank you, President Turner. Good evening, everyone. I do have a few announcements. First and importantly are the legislative updates in your board docs, and there are several. Also, we're getting excited and ready for the Great North Run. It is March 8th, if you can believe it's upon us already. But we hope to see the board and the entire community at the North Central campus for that incredible community-wide event. You can run, you can walk, or you can just go to the fitness fair. There's lots of choices for you. But I hope anyone who comes and finds me at the starting line. I always have donuts and coffee, so find me and I'll feed you and keep your beverage warm. But it'll be a great day, and all of the information for engagement is in your board docs. We also have a e-learning day coming up in September based on the board calendar, and Dr. Pettigrew just wanted to give the board a preview of how they are looking at using that day at this current time. As you know, it's a tough decision to send kids home for a day for learning, but this is the reason why, is because we have such rich professional development for our teachers. And so that's just a glimpse into fall professional development for our whole staff. You are also invited by Greenbrier Elementary to the Black History Month Showcase, which is being held March 20th, and the details are there. It is always a spectacular showcase of students' talents at Greenbrier. And Mr. Boots provided the capital projects update report in your board documents, as well as an update on the Job Spark opportunity that West Lane did not get to participate in. They still wanted to create this experience for their students, so they created an in-house experience for their students, and hopefully you can stop by that with the details that are provided in your board docs. I was really proud of them for just not saying, oh, sorry, you don't get to participate, but really picking that up and creating something special for their kids in-house. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Dr. Woodson. And next on the agenda is comments from the public. Are there members of the public that would like to speak? Seeing and hearing none, I'll move on to our next agenda item, which is the consent agenda. Dr. Kaiser.
Thank you, President Turner, Dr. Woodson, members of the board. I recommend that you approve the consent agenda for this meeting. The consent agenda includes approval of the minutes of the February 12th, 2025 board meeting and the memorandum of the February 24th, 2025 executive session, approval of one payroll calculation summary report, a claims docket in the amount of $4,686,513.80, a special personnel item in accordance with Indiana Code 20-26-5-11.2, a human resources report containing 5 new hires in the classified personnel area, numbers 197 to 201, 2 resignations, numbers 103 and 104, 2 terminations, numbers 19 and 20, and 6 leaves, numbers 1 through 6. In the certified personnel report, there is 1 new appointment, number 96, 4 retirements, numbers 5 through 8, and 3 maternity, child rearing, or adoptive leaves, numbers 44 through 46. There are no non-competitive grants, gifts, or donations to present for the board's approval this evening, and that concludes the consent agenda.
Board have questions? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Move to approve the consent agenda as presented by Dr. Kaiser.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Any further questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. Ayes have it. Motion carries 5-0. Thank you, Dr. Kaiser. Dr. Woodson.
Thank you. In that consent agenda that you just voted on, I do want to make a special announcement. We do have a new coach you just approved for North Central Panther football, and we are very excited. I know Mr. Elkins put together a very thorough process at North Central that had a great applicant pool, and we are thrilled about the top applicant that you just approved a few moments ago. We will do a community-wide release this evening, as well as ongoing and forthcoming. The entire community is excited, and he will start next month.
Great, thank you. Next on the agenda are action items. First action item is approval of resolution to transfer circular materials fund balance to education balance. Mrs. Smith.
Thank you, President Turner, Dr. Woods, and members of the board. Just wanted to kind of explain this resolution since you haven't seen this in this manner quite enough before. This isn't a normal one. So kind of wanted to give you some history on why we were bringing this evening. In the past, if you recall, if you were around back in 2018-19, that was the year that they dissolved the old general fund, the old capital projects fund, transportation operating, and bus replacement. Those all moved into the 2 new funds that you know today is the education fund and the operations fund. With that process, at that time, the state and the State Board of Accounts had us do a resolution dissolving the old funds and creating the new funds. After talking to several of my colleagues around the area, they talked about this resolution that we're presenting this evening because the same type of information is happening at the year end, and that was with our curricular materials fund. That was our old 0900 fund when we used to have textbook rental, all those different things. The Indiana Code legislative session last year indicated that no, we are to dissolve that fund at the end of this year, end of 2024 at year end, and move that into our education fund 0101. So we, after we were talking to the colleagues, even though it wasn't a specific direction, we figured it was just like when we had to do that in 1819, where we wanted the board's final stamp on that, even though by law, we're supposed to do it. So this is just a resolution for the board approving that we dissolved that fund and then moved it into our education fund at year end.
Board have any questions? Hearing none, entertain a motion.
Move to approve the resolution to transfer curricular materials fund balance to the education fund as presented by Mrs. Smith.
Been moved and seconded. Any further questions or comments? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. Ayes have it. Motion carries 5-0. Thank you. Next action item, approval and adoption of second reading of policies A 350, G 350, H 125, H 150, H 175. Mrs. Smith.
Thank you very much. As we talked about at the last board meeting, this is what I called the leftover batch. As you know, since last December of 2023, we started down a process where we were revising all of our board policies across this last year for the entire district. So this is one of those leftover batches that was right at the end that we did last board meeting and then again for this board meeting. And then we would be asking the board for approval. As I indicated last meeting that there might be some changes, there was not any changes. This, of course, has gone through the same process as we have before with our board liaisons, any administrators that area might pertain to. All of those have vetted these, and then we bring those to you this evening for a second reading and an adoption from the board. I'd be happy to answer any questions. As you indicated, there are 5 of them. I'm sorry, I'll at least give you the names of those. Policy A 350, civility and decorum. And that one is one of those that's not required but helpful. And then to have. Next one is policy G 350, audio, video, and digital recordings of meetings. This replaced our previous policy 2410, 2461, and 7440.01. Next is policy H 125, corporation support organizations. This replaces our old policy 9211. Next, we have policy H 150, public records, and this replaces policy 8310 and also has a request for personnel file access form also attached. And last but not least is policy H 175, questioning of students, and this replaces the previous policy 5540. I'd be happy to answer any questions the board may have.
Board have questions? Hearing none. All those, I will entertain a motion first.
That we approve and adopt second reading of policies A 350, G 350, H 125, H 150, and H 175 as presented by Mrs. Smith.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Any further questions? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. Ayes have it. Motion carries 5-0. Thank you, Mrs. Smith. And the last action item for the night is approval of Dynamo soccer lease termination. Mrs. Smith.
Thank you very much. Just like our other item, I'm going to take you down a little memory lane here. And this was a lease that we entered into with Dynamo Soccer back in 22-23. Their aspirations were to build a big soccer complex on our property at 8118 Ditch Road. So they went through their process, they went through their fundraising and all that. Of course, we know what has happened the last several years is prices have risen significantly. They were originally going to raise about $2.5 to $3 million. Now, at the same time, to do what they planned, it's $6 million, and they were unable to fulfill that. So unfortunately, they've contacted us, let us know that, talk to myself and Angela Burton Smith, and let us know that they are not going to be able to continue. The lease that the board approved back in 22-23 was for them to be able to develop this land, and then we would charge them a lease rental fee on this land for the next 25 years. So with them not being able to continue with this, we needed to bring this back to the board since you approved the original lease. And then we would be asking the board for termination of that lease. Within that lease, it did have that charge that I talked about. And since they did not even start the development, we, as a district, would ask the board that to agree with us that they would not have to pay anything since they never even started the project. So that is what this termination is, action item for this evening, asking the board to officially terminate that lease that we entered in with them in 22-23. I'd be happy to answer any questions the board may have.
Board have questions? Mrs. Fry?
Just looking at the original lease,
Mhm.
it, correct me if I'm wrong, but it looks like they were supposed to start paying us $20,000 per year back a couple of years ago.
Once they started developing the land, so we knew at that time that they were putting it off a year. So they contacted us and they were trying to do more for their fundraising because the prices started going up at that time. So then we said, okay, we'll pause and then we'll come back to the board if we needed to revise the lease. Or at that time, they kind of let us know that if we can't, then we will have to terminate it. So that is why there was that pause in between for those couple years.
Essentially waiving.
Yes, that's exactly it. Thank you. Thank you for that clarification.
Other questions? I will entertain a motion.
I move that we approve the termination of the Dynamo soccer lease as presented by Mrs. Smith.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any further questions or discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. And those opposed, nay. Ayes have it. Motion carries 5-0. Thank you, Mrs. Smith. Is, okay. So that concludes the action items for this evening, the Mrs. Smith Show. We have a new item on the agenda. There were no information items tonight, but there's a new item on the agenda and the board is aware of this. It's called Special Events and Liaison Reports. And one of the reasons this is on there is we used to have something like that in the past with the board. And we got away from it, stopped doing it. And basically it's a way for board members to talk about some of the liaison work they're doing or some of the involvement in the community that relates to schools or schools. You want to just showcase something that you want to highlight. It is not a time that you have to say anything. Typically what I'm going to start doing just to get us going is just go down the road. Just say, if you have anything, if you do, you do. If you do, you don't. I mean, if you do, you do. If you don't, you don't. But we wanted to bring it back and we do have some guidelines around it. I'm probably talking more than we allowed for our total. But I just want to get it out for this first one, that's why this is on the meeting. It should be on there every week. I mean, every board meeting after information items. So with that being said, I'll start with Mrs. George Davis.
So actually, just yesterday, I had the opportunity to conduct BizTown interviews at Clearwater. I had to think about it for a minute. I have to say that those were probably the most articulate fourth graders I have ever met. They could tell you why they wanted to be an engineer, why they wanted to be pilots. I had a great discussion about Legos with an aspiring engineer. She says, I'm great at building things and I'm going to be an engineer. So in past years, I've been so sad that I couldn't do it. And I was so excited that my work travel was the week before, but it was just really cool. So I suggest anybody who has that opportunity, conduct some BizTown interviews. Those kids are pretty phenomenal.
Mr. Thompson.
I had the opportunity last night to go watch the North Central Panthers boys basketball play here at North Central against Fishers. While they didn't win, it was great to see all of the student section on a Tuesday night. Also got to check out 8th graders at Eastwood wrestling and getting recognized for their last home wrestling match.
Thank you. Mrs. Fry.
I have actually not been in our schools in the last 2 weeks. I will admit what I have been doing though, is spending a lot of time watching the state legislative session, including the debate on the Senate bill regarding property tax funding, and having some communication with Patty Cadora, my state senator, in regards to that. So I cannot say I've had any district specific meetings other than this one in our executive session. But I have.
That's district.
Okay, but I have been at least spending some trying to stay on top of what's happening, some of the very scary things happening with funding in the State House and communicating with Senator Doral.
Yeah, that's perfect.
I am currently participating as a member of the strategic planning group for the next strategic plan. There was a session this past week, and then we have a phone call on this Friday with Dr. Taylor to get more updates and with the development the consultants that we are contracting with on the development of the strategic plan. So as I can, I will use this time to update everybody on how that's moving forward.
And I will close out by saying, yes, I did those interviews at Spring Mill, and the same thing. That's why I'm glad somebody else went. Those were incredible. And what it also showcases is that there's such a diversity within their schools, but also within the classrooms. And so, but you have to think about how teachers manage all those different little personalities on a daily basis and still trying to help everybody achieve. So to me, it was deeper than just the interviews, because there's some awesome interviews. And one of the people I thought was going to end up being the CEO was the CEO because of the way she interviewed. So that helped. The only thing I'm gonna bring up this time around is the Community Coalition had a meeting a couple weeks ago. And that's the Community Coalition where you have different members of the community meeting with Dr. Pettigrew and Mrs. Haslett to talk about the district. And it was a great meeting. I came in a little late, but it was a meeting about helping them understand the new grad pathways and what the district is doing. And the part that I was able to listen to, it was great awareness for those community members that they may not have heard the details and the work that we're doing as a district to put this into place. And they only hear what's in the news. So I think it was good to hear and get that information out to them in a good manner. So with that being said, if there are no other items good for the order, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved. Second.
And all those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries. We are adjourned.